Hello, friends. If someone can comment and let me know that my audio is good, that would be appreciated, and then we'll get started right off the bat. I don't see anyone on quite yet. In the meantime, I'll give a little bit of an introduction of myself. So, I am Molly Asplin, for those of you who don't know me. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I am under Sarah Gobb's team. So I'm a part of Team Fit Forward. Sarah Gobb is my great-grandma coach, and then I'm part of Team Hustle with Heart. So I'm gonna get my my other screen up so I can see your guys' questions come in, because my phone gets kind of funny with that sometimes. I've really been enjoying this group. I hope you guys have been too. I think it's, hi there, dear. I think it's so fun to see all the different inviting styles, because it just goes to show, perfect, that we can all do this in our totally unique way, right? All right, so I have a very simple process for inviting you guys, and honestly, I'm 2 years in as a coach, and I'm still very much in my warm market. So that's what I focus on. And you know, I get a lot of referrals from current people, so maybe we want to call that like your lukewarm market, but I don't do a lot of cold market stuff, and I honestly never really have. Down the road, maybe, but that's not what the focus of this is going to be. So remember that the vital behavior of inviting is not just inviting. It's attract, relate, invite. So if your social media, if your posting is not reflective of the invite messages that you're sending, they're not gonna work. You gotta have that good storefront, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, doesn't matter. You've gotta have the trust, the credibility in the storefront so that people know what the heck you're talking about when you actually get to the inviting piece. So I'm not gonna go into posting because I don't want that to be the focus of this call, but make sure you've got a good storefront. Make sure you're showing people what you're doing, that you're consistent, that you're showing up every day with those posts, because that's super important. And the magic happens, I always tell my team, the magic happens when you can sync up your posts with your messages. Those two things are just so powerful, but you gotta constantly be doing both of them together. So right off the bat, the best way to do it is to do it. I think we all talk about inviting a lot, and we could study it for days and we could learn all about these different platforms, but the best way to do it is to just act. And I know for me, I failed forward with this because you guys, my invites used to suck. Like, I look back at things I said long ago and I would never say that these days. But you know what? I learned from it. So someone said, how do I just kind of bite this bullet? I'm a brand new coach. You just got to do it. Make sure your posts are going on your wall, and then we'll get into relationship building, which I'll talk about. But you can't sit on your hands with this or you won't move forward. And after you start doing it, it's not scary anymore. It's just like when you made that first transformation post, it's scary, and then you do it and you're like, oh, cool. So we just got to get you doing this. Take action and be yourself. Super important. My style of building a relationship is going to be different than Sarah's, which will be different than Nicole's, but use your own voice. That's really important. And talk about things that you would normally talk about, right? So I'm going to give you some ideas today, but be yourself with this. That's really what this is all about. If you're afraid, someone said, I'm just like, this is really scary to me, and how do you do it without having an ulterior motive? Two things on that. If you're afraid, you need to plug into your personal development, because that's probably your missing piece. It's a little bit scary, but it shouldn't be that scary. And so whenever my coaches are like, I'm scared to invite, I always say, are you doing your PD? Because I'm guessing that's the missing piece. A couple good books for inviting. Go for No. That's a good one. It'll get your confidence up with it. 10X rule is a good one. Just talking about taking action and going to do it. And you guys, I don't love doing it. I don't love messaging. I don't love inviting. It's my frog. And so I eat the messaging frog every morning, first thing. It's the first thing in my power hour because I don't like it. But you know what? If we didn't do it, none of our teams would exist. So it's the thing you gotta do, along with all the other vitals. So how to start a conversation without having an ulterior motive. Don't have an ulterior motive. I go into every conversation just thinking I'm gonna build a genuine relationship. And if that happens, great, you know? And it's not like you're trying to just turn the conversation to get to, what are your health and fitness goals? How can I help? How's your nutrition? You know, because sometimes those questions just don't flow with the conversation. So go into every conversation just genuinely wanting to build a relationship with that person, to catch up with them, to talk about their family. Maybe it's an old high school friend, you know, to talk about where they're living these days. Don't think that you have to get to the invite piece because that might not happen, but it will down the road, right? You're building trust, you're building credibility. So, who do I message? I message the people that are liking and commenting on my posts. I work from a name list every month, and I'll get into a little more of how I track, but I message the people who are commenting and liking on my stuff. People who I'm adding as new friends, I message them right off the bat. And then people who are in either my current free groups or my challenge groups, I'm always messaging my current people behind the scenes. So let's start with new friends. If I friend request someone because maybe they liked or commented on a post of a picture that I posted with my husband, maybe it's one of his friends. So somebody that I don't know, but I'm like, oh, they liked this picture of mine, so I'm going to add them as a friend. I'll add them as a friend, and then they'll accept it, and I'll reply, and I'll say, hey, it looks like you and Steve's my husband, you and Steve went to high school together. Super cool. I know I don't know you, but I love the stuff that you post. Compliment. I might throw a compliment in there. Do you still live in Chaska? That's where my husband grew up. So I'll just be super normal and I'll be like, I added you as a friend, so I'm going to say something about it, right? And okay, if it's someone that I really don't know, I will say something like, hey, it looks like we are mutual friends with Katie. I used to work with her. Do you live in Omaha? I used to live in Omaha too. I'll say something like that. I'll comment about the mutual friends that we have. And so honestly, you guys, that's how I build my warm market, is I go through my mutual friends. And of course, I don't really go for people who are being sought out by other coaches, or if they have a bunch of coach mutual friends, then I'll just move on. But I add to my network through mutual friends. And then when they accept me as a friend, I always send a message right back to them so that I'm on their radar and I'm showing up in their newsfeed. People engaging and commenting on my posts. So the message I always send is the thank you message. And that is something like, if I post a transformation, and they like it or they comment on it. Either one, I go in and I say, hey, thank you for liking my transformation post yesterday. That stuff isn't always easy to share, so I really appreciate your support. How have you been? I don't necessarily say, are you on a fitness journey too? Because that might feel weird to me, especially if this is someone that I don't even know. But I'll say, how have you been? Or, where do you live? Like, just something to build a relationship. And you guys, if your posts are baller, if people are commenting and liking on your posts, why are we scared to message them? Like, they're the ones creeping on you. So then go right back, right? That's why your posts have to be good, because then it's going to get people to your wall. And then people within my free groups and within my challenge groups. So I check those groups every day, multiple times a day, and I see who's either liking on stuff or who's commenting, who's engaging, and then I'll take it behind the scenes and I'll say something like, hey, thank you for, commenting on that recipe today in the challenge group. I'm just curious, have you tried that yourself? Right now I'm in a mom's group, and someone was asking about a certain recipe, and she said, do you need to put flaxseed in it? So I shot her a message behind the scenes, and I said, hey, did you try that recipe without flaxseed? Just like simple stuff. But you gotta go deeper than just social media. get like storefront. You got to get into people's messages, right? So that's who I'm talking to. What do I say? A thank you message. I do those all the time because they're genuine and they're easy. I'll comment if it's something that they commented on, or that they posted. I'll be sure, and like if they shared a recipe, you guys, that's like an open opportunity. I'll just go in their inbox and say, that recipe you shared looks super good. Did you try it yet? Did you try actually making it? You know, I'm thinking of making something like that this weekend. But if people are sharing, that's for sure when you need to go in and message them. They love it. Like I said, I'll say, looks like we're mutual friends with so-and-so person. Do you live in that town as well? So I always go with like, where do you live? Because I think that's just so easy to talk about. How often do I message? So I told you guys, this is my frog. I don't like doing it, but I do it every day. And it takes up the longest part of my power hour. You guys, inviting is the revenue driver. You know, I hate, if that freaks you out, whatever, but this is the business building opportunity that you need. It's that vital behavior that you gotta do, because it will grow your top line, right? It's your sales, it's your people, it's the cylinders of your business. So this takes me the longest part of my power hour, and if I'm honest, I probably spend about 2 hours inviting every day. And sometimes less. I don't really do it on the weekends, and I don't necessarily do it every weekday, but I usually do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I have stuff coming back in on Thursday, Friday, and throughout the weekend. So how I go about this, McKenna, really good question. I'll get to that one in just a sec. But I make a name list every month. A name list once a month. And I've usually got about 50 to 100 people on that name list. It might be people from the prior month that said no. It might be brand new friends that I've added over the last couple weeks. It might be people who were in my free group who I now kind of want to transition to my real challenge group. Those are the people that I've got on this list. I'm going to show it to you because it's super fancy. Just kidding. So this is it. I always title it March Lives to Change. So I just made my list for March yesterday, and you can see I've got about 70 names on this. Now, you'll also see that some of them have a dot by them. This is my super fancy system. Once I reach out to them, once either like or comment on a post they made or send them a private message, I put a dot by their name, a bullet point. And that's how I know that I've kind of started the relationship. I never invite until I've started a relationship. Okay? I think it's super important. Do not go send 100 invite messages and say, want to be in my group. Please don't. Build a relationship. It will take time. It will take patience, but it's going to get you to the yes, right? You're doing it in the right way. So I'll put the dot by their name when I've started to interact with them. And you guys, I'll probably do this for about a week, where I'll just dot these names and I'll go back and forth with these people, because once you message them, they're going to message you back, right? Now, for some people, these conversations, because they're already following you, will automatically turn into, I'm really in a rut with my workout routine. And that's awesome when they do that, right? Because that just gives you your segue to go right into your invite process. But for some people, they're not going to get there. And that's when that question of ulterior motive came up. That's where I just let the conversation die. You know, if it's like, okay, cool, I caught up with this person, this was fun, but I'm not going to just try to turn that conversation, so I just let it die. And then that's when, McKenna, when do you go in and invite after the convo? When I'm starting to promote my monthly challenge group, which for me is usually the second or third week of the month, I will go back into all these open conversations, or maybe they're dead, whatever you want to call them. All these people that I've now have a dot by because I've built a relationship with them, and I'll go in and say, hey, Bria, I know we were talking a couple weeks ago, super fun to catch up with you. I'm not sure if you saw, but I'm starting to fill the openings for my March challenge group. I think it's something you would probably do really well with. Would you like to hear the details? I ended with a question. I did not invite them. I said, would you like to hear the details? Key phrase for me. I use it all the time. And you know what? They almost always reply back, and they almost always say, sure, send me the details. Because how non-invasive is that? That's not threatening, it's not salesy, it's not pushy. You're asking if they want to hear the details. Yeah, Stephanie, I have dots by some, but it's not March yet. Yeah, some of them I started working on yesterday, and I just know that I'm not going to get to the invite process with them because it's, you know, the last day of the month, and so I've started to work on March. And like I said, it usually takes me at least 2 days before I could ever get to the invite because I'm going back and forth about non-coaching stuff first. Good question. But that's when I'll go in once I'm promoting for my group, and if they hop over to my wall when I say, I'm not sure if you saw, but I'm starting to promote my March challenge group, you know they're going to go creep your wall, right? So it better look good. You better be showing a transformation, or you better be showing a challenger spotlight or something, or your containers, so that people are like, what is she talking about? Yeah, I guess I'll go check this out. And if they like what they see, they're going to say, yeah, send me the details. And then that's when I will go right into my invite process, or my invite stuff. And for that message, it's basically something like, so monthly I lead a challenge group. I coach primarily via the 21-Day Fix program. Have you heard of it? It's a very effective program with quick yet sustainable results. It's a mix of cardio and strength. I usually talk about the 21-Day Fix program because for me it's always it's a great starter program. Not always, but typically. I don't talk about you can get 199 BOD all access. No, I keep that first message very simple about what my challenge groups are like, what the 21-Day Fix program is like. I don't even talk about Shakeology, and I end that first invite message with, what are you currently doing for your workouts? How is your nutrition? Those 2 questions. Then they will reply back, right? You ended with a question, and it's about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. So that's when I'll get sometimes a loaded response about, you know, I'm currently going to spin class a couple times a week, whatever they might be doing. And the reason it's important to ask that, you guys, is so that you can then refer a program that's right for them, right? We got to listen. That's where that's where we come in as coaches. We have to prescribe the program that would be a good starting point for them. And typically I do think it's 21-Day Fix, at least for my market. And then they'll probably go into pricing. But I'm not going to get into all that. I'm thinking you guys know how to do that. The biggest part is getting to that invite, right? Because once you can get to the invite, you should have a good script or process. If not, your upline probably does. But that's the hardest part sometimes, is just to get to them to be like, yes, what are the details, right? If it's the coaching opportunity, inviting to that, I only invite my challengers to become coaches. I'm not a person who goes out and says, join my team, to my, you know, audience of people that have never even been in a group, because when I have coaches sign up, I want them to know what the heck they're doing. So I find my coaches from my challenge groups, and I start that conversation behind the scenes in week 2 of my challenge groups. And I'll, you know, send them a message behind the scenes. I'll check in. I'll see how they're doing. If they tell me they're liking it, they're feeling great, I'll say, awesome. You know, you should really think about coaching. It is the best way to keep yourself accountable. That's why I joined as a coach, because I just wanted to continue my own journey. Have you ever considered coaching like I do? That's usually my question for that. Have you ever considered coaching like I do? I would love to co-lead my next group with you. You know, and then a lot of times you get a response on, I've thought about it, I'm just like super scared to post, or what does it entail? And then that's how that conversation goes. But you've got to be reaching out behind the scenes in your challenge groups if you want people to coach with you. They're not just going to come tapping and be like, can I coach the next group with you? I wish. And then follow-ups. Last thing I'll talk about, and I don't see a lot of questions, so fire them away if you have, but follow-up. Someone said, do you keep messaging them? Yes, I follow up with people almost monthly, like people who either said no, or I heard crickets, I didn't hear responses. I follow up basically monthly, but I make sure I'm connecting about something non-coaching in between there. So if I go back to a thread and I see 5 invite messages from me with them not, you can see they read it, right? But they're not replying. I don't like that. To me, that looks a little salesy. It looks a little pushy. It looks like you don't really care about them except to sell this challenge pack. So I connect on something non-coaching. I'll say like, hey, how's your February going? It looks like you guys went on a ski trip in Lutsen. How was the snow up there? You know, something about that they posted. And then when it comes time to go back into inviting them again, I will really try to find one of the goals that they shared. So I'll go back in and say, I know when we talked a couple months ago, you were really having trouble with your meal prep. How's that going for you? Call out something specific that they said to you. Or I know when we talked a few months ago, you were really struggling to get in a routine with your workouts. Have you been able to get a little more consistent with that? No, I haven't. Like, thank you for asking. I'm still really working on that. Do you have space in your group? Really try to use their words, you guys. Use their words, use their problems that they might have said. So I always follow up. Super important. And that, you guys, that's what I do. I do this month after month, and I do it with high effort every day. It's the revenue driver, and it's one of the most important vital behaviors. That's why it's vital. So if you can do this and sync it up with your posts, you're going to be really set up for success. I think it should take like 70% of your power hour. I really do. So, you know, if you're going to do a power hour for an hour, I think you should at least spend 30 minutes doing that. Love that. High effort daily. You got it, SG. All right, peeps. Comment below if you have any more questions, and I'll pop in here and answer them throughout the day. You're welcome, Nicole. Have a good one, you guys. Go invite, okay? Go make your list and invite, attract, relate, invite like 20 people. Bye-bye. Love you guys.